Moving from California to Houston, is it worth it? Here's something almost nobody tells you before they move here. Most people leaving California for Houston, I would say they're running the math wrong. They look at a $900,000 home in California. They look at a $345,000 house in Houston. They see a gap, and then they think, it's obvious. The gap is real. It's just not the number that decides whether the move will actually work for you and your family. Because the purchase price is a one-time conversation. What you pay every single month for the next 30 years is a completely different conversation. And in Texas, that monthly number is built out of pieces most California buyers have never had to think about before. I've watched people fall in love with a house here. They close on it, and then they get their first full tax bill and feel like the floor moved from under them. I've also watched people cut their housing costs almost in half and never look back. Same city, same year, totally two different outcomes. So if you're a California person seriously considering Houston, this video is for you. We're going to run the honest numbers, and then we're going to talk about what these neighborhoods actually feel like to live in, because that part matters just as much as the price, believe it or not. Hi, I'm Natasha Carol with Natasha Carol Realty, and I help people relocate to Houston area from all over the country as well as from all over the world. California, of course, is one of the biggest pipelines I work with. Every month, I'm on calls with families in Orange County, the Bay Area, Sacramento, San Diego, all asking some version of the same question. Is Houston actually worth it? Here's my promise for the next 25 minutes. I'm going to give you the real cost picture, including the parts that surprise people. I'm going to walk you through what different pockets of Houston genuinely feel like day to day, not just what they cost. I'm going to be honest about the trade-offs, because there are some. And by the end, you'll know which of the three categories you fall into. Because the answer to is it worth it is genuinely different, I would say, depending on your situation. No hype, no doom, just what I see on the ground every single week. If that sounds useful, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to our channel. I put out Houston relocation content every single week, and I would love to have you around and share it with you. Let's get right into it. First, we're gonna talk about the real cost swap, is what I'm gonna call it. Let's start with a number everybody already knows, and then let's take it apart. The California Association of Realtors put the statewide median home price at $904,640 in June 2026. That's actually down from May, which set a record of $930,000, and it's up about 0.5% from a year ago. So California prices are basically, I would say, holding at a very high plateau. Now, Houston. The Houston Association of Realtors reported a June 2026 median single family price at $345, essentially flat year over year. The average price came in at $415,000, up 1.2%, and that average is being pulled up by a strong luxury segment, where sales over $1 million, believe it or not, jumped more than 17%. So on the surface, you're looking at a home that costs roughly a third of what a comparable medium California home costs. Quick note on why you might see different Houston numbers depending on where you look. Zillow's home value index shows Houston around $265,010. Redfin has shown its numbers in the low 300s. HAR says $345,000. All three are correct. They're just measuring different things. Zillow's index covers all housing types inside of the city limits, including condos and townhomes, which drags the numbers down. Redfin, they tracks closed sales in its own coverage. HAR, single family closings across the entire multiple listing service, which stretches well out into the suburbs where families actually buy. For a relocating family shopping for a house with a yard, the HAR number is the one that reflects your reality. So, okay, you're saving a fortune right in your eyes. But hold on, here is where the swap happens. Property taxes. This is a big one, and it is the number one thing California buyers underestimate. In California, Proposition 13 keeps your effective rate low, usually somewhere around 1.25%. In Harris County, most homeowners land a combined effective range of roughly 2.1 to 2.5% of assessed value once you add in the school district, the county, the city, the hospital, the flood control district, the community college, and any municipal utility district. That is the mud district piece. Catches people off guard consistently. A lot of the beautiful newer master plan communities out in Cypress, Katy, Fulshire sit inside of a mud district, and that district carries its own tax rate to pay for water, sewer, infrastructure the developer put in. Two houses that look identical 3 miles apart can carry meaningful different tax bills. There's good news here though. Texas voters approved a bigger homestead exemption, and as of 2026, the general school district exemption is about $140,000 off your taxable value, up to $100,000. Harris County adds an optional 20% on top for the county position. So what does that look like in real numbers? On a $345,000 home with a homestead exemption in place, a lot of buyers land somewhere in the range of $6,000 to $8,000 a year in total property tax, and mud district pushes you towards the top range or a little bit past it. That's a real number. Please don't estimate it. Every time we look at a house together, we pull the actual tax rate for the specific parcel, because guessing here is how people blow up their budget, and they're always surprised. Homeowners insurance, second surprise. Texas is one of the most expensive states in the country for homeowners insurance, and Houston sits at the sharp end of it. We get hurricanes, we get hail, we get straight line winds. Statewide, Texas homeowners are commonly quoted somewhere roughly between $2,400 to $4,800 a year, against a national average that's closer to $1,900. Your roof age matters enormously here. A 12-year-old roof and a 2-year-old roof on the same house can produce widely different premiums, believe it or not. Then there's flood insurance. Separate policy, and it's a whole conversation on its own. National Flood Insurance Program's data puts the average Harris County premium around $786 a year, which sounds very manageable, but that average, it hides an enormous range. Houston policies run anywhere from around $720 in the low-risk zones up to several $1,000s in high-risk zones. Because FEMA's Risk Rating 2.0 system now prices your specific address, not just your zone. Elevation, distance to the nearest bayou, foundation types, and claims history all move that number. Now, let's put something back on the other side of the ledger. There's no state income tax. Texas has none. Zero. For a California household in six figures, that state income tax line has been quietly eating thousands of dollars every year. For higher earners, it's been eating a great deal more than that. When people run their full comparison and forget this line, they get a distorted picture. Talk to a CPA about your specific situations, because this is often the single largest swing, I would say, in the whole equation. So here's the honest summary of the swap. You're trading a very large purchase price and a large state income tax bill for a much smaller purchase price and a larger annual carrying costs on taxes and insurance. For most California households, that trade still comes out clearly in Houston's favor, but the margin is narrower than their internet promise, and the size of that margin depends almost entirely on which specific house you buy and what its tax rate and insurance profile look like. That's not a reason to worry. It's a reason to shop with someone who helps you check the numbers. Let's talk about what the market is actually doing right now in the Houston area. We're gonna call this what the market looks like right now. If you left California expecting to compete with 11 other offers and waive every contingency, take a breath. Houston isn't that market right now. It's actually slowed down. The June 2026 numbers from the Houston Association of Realtors realtors tell a pretty balanced story. Single-family home sales rose about 2% year over year, with 8,158 homes sold. Pending sales, which are contracts that become closing later this summer. So demand is healthy, and I would say it's building. But supply, it's healthy too. Active listings rose 38,839, and months of inventory sits around 5.2, where the national inventory is around 4.5 months. Homes are taking about 52 days to sell on average, and up from 50 a year ago. Read that together, and you get something buyers haven't had in a long time. You actually have room to see a house twice, room to sleep on it, room to ask some questions. HAR also noted that Houston's affordability has improved year over year in 20 of the past 3 months, outpacing the national trend. That's quite a static, and it's one of more important ones in this whole video. On financing, Freddie Mac's survey had that 30-year fixed rate at 6.69% as of August, up slightly the week before, and up a hair from 6.63% a year ago. The 15-year average is 6.01%. So rates are essentially sideways. They're not spiking, they're not collapsing. I'm not going to predict where they'll go, and you should be a little suspicious of anyone who does. What I will tell you is that it's balanced means practically. In a market with 5+ months of supply, sellers who have been sitting for 6 weeks, they get realistic. That's where closing cost credits live. That's where rate buy down lives. Builders in the outer suburbs are especially motivated right now. And a builder incentive on a new construction home can be worth more than your monthly mortgage than negotiating down the sticker price. That's leverage. It's not dramatic, and it won't make the headlines, but it's real. And it's the kind of thing that shows up in the budget every month for decades. And it's something that you should really think about. So let's go back to what I said at the top. The gap between a $900,000 home in California and a $345,000 home in Houston is not the thing that decides this move. Now seeing why. Property taxes swing thousands based on a mud district you've never noticed from the curb. Insurance swings thousands based on the age of the roof. Flood premiums swing based on your elevation, not just your zip code. And no state income tax quietly changes the entire calculation, of course, in your favor. That's the money side. Here's what's still coming. And honestly, this is the part people tell me they wish they understood before they pack their bags. There's one structural thing about Houston that makes it behave differently from every other big city in America, and it directly affects which house you should buy. Then I want to walk you through what these neighborhoods actually feel like. The sounds, the drive, the Saturday morning, because that's what you're really buying. And at the end, I'm going to give you the 3 buckets so you can honestly figure out which one you're in. Before we keep going, I put together a free Houston relocation guide that covers a lot of the logistics we fit into one video. School district maps, the neighborhoods by neighborhood breakdown, a realistic moving timeline, and a cost of living worksheet you can actually fill in with your own numbers. It's linked in the description box. It's free, and it's the single most useful thing I can hand someone who's 3 to 6 months out from a move. So grab it, then come right back and finish the video. Next, we're gonna talk about the revelation, we're gonna call it. Houston doesn't work like other cities. All right, here's the thing that changes how you should shop. Houston has no zoning, believe it or not. We are the only major America city without a conventional zoning code, and the one fact that riddles through everything. The upside is significant, and it's a big part of why our prices have stayed sane while other Sun Belt metros went went vertical. When demand rises here, supply can actually respond. Builders build, land converts. That's responsiveness is why Houston tends to avoid the extreme swings you see in supply-constrained markets. If you spent years watching California inventory, stay locked in. This feels like, I would say, a different planet to some. The downside is that you have to look more carefully. A quiet residential street can have commercial partials at the corner. A gorgeous new build can come back up to something you didn't notice on the listing photos. Deed restrictions do a lot of the work zoning does everywhere else, and they vary enormously from subdivision to subdivision. That's a walk it with someone local situation, not a browse it online at midnight situation. Now, the second half of this, that piece I care about the most. In Houston, water risk is an address level question, not a neighborhood level question. Two houses, believe it or not, on the same street. One sits 18 inches higher, one is 100 yards farther from the bayou, different elevation certificates, different premiums, different outcomes in a bad storm. FEMA's risk rating 2.0 already prices it that way, and honestly, that's the right way to think about it. So please, do not let anyone tell you an entire neighborhood is fine or a problem. Ask for the elevation certificate. Ask for the flood history. Ask what happened to the specific house in 2017, in 2019, and 2024. Those answers exist. We pull them for every client every time. So now, let's talk about how these places actually feel, because I don't want you to buy what's on a spreadsheet. The heights. Bungalows with deep porches, oak trees meeting over the street, and a running and biking trail that use a rail line. Saturday morning here smells like coffee and someone's smoker. You can walk to dinner. Redfin shows data, medium house price around $699,000. For the 3 months ending in May of 2026, it's up 3.6%. It's the most California urban thing we have. And Californians, they tend to click with it immediately. Then there's Memorial and the Energy Corridor. Big lots, serious trees, canopy, quiet in a way that feels almost rural at 8 in the morning, and then you're at a corporate campus in just 12 minutes. Buffalo Bayou Park is right there. And if you're coming from a leafy Bay Area suburb and you want that same hush, this is your zone. Then there's Katy. This is where a huge number of relocating families land, and I understand why. The second we pulled in, master plan communities, resort-style pools, sidewalks full of kids on scooters, and Katy ISD, which is consistently one of the highest regarded districts in the metro. Redfin put Katy medium around $350,000 for 3 months ending in May of 2026. Roughly flat year over year, with homes taking about 45 days to sell compared to 29 days a year ago. That extra time on the market is negotiating room. Then there's Cypress, my own backyard, of course, Cypress and Katy. Newer construction, lakes, trails, Cypher ISD. Prices generally run in the mid 300s, thousands to the high 380,000, depending on the community. And it's got that everything is 15 years old and works feeling that appeals to people who are tired of managing a 1950s house. Watch the mud rate, of course, here. There's Sugarland, established, polished, genuinely one of the most diverse suburbs in America. Zillow's index has the average home price around $455,922. The grocery stores here will tell you everything you need to know about the food culture, and Fort Bend ISD is a major draw. It feels settled in a way that newer communities don't just yet. Then there's Pearland, practical, family heavy, and close to the Texas Medical Center, and of course close to NASA. Zillow shows an average price around $376,000, up 1.3% year over year, with homes going pending in about 9 days. That last number matters. Pearland moves faster than the metro average. So if this is your target, you gotta be ready. Then there's Clear Lake in the Bay Area. Boat and driveways, water access, aerospace, and medical employees. unemployment. Generally one of the more affordable pockets, and the vibe is completely different from anywhere else on this list. Weekends here, they revolve around water. So 7 very different lives. Same metro, and the price differences between them are much smaller than the lifestyle differences, which means you get to actually choose based on how you want to live. That is the thing Californians don't give people anymore. So that's where you live. Let's talk about what a normal Tuesday actually feels like, because there are some adjustments, and I'd rather you hear it from me than find out when you move in. We're gonna call this section the daily life adjustment is what we're gonna talk about. The best part that you gotta consider is the heat. Let's just say July through September, it's hot and humid, not dry desert hot. Walk outside and your glasses fog, that type of hot. Here's what actually happens though. Life moves indoors, and it actually moves early. You run at 6 in the morning, you do the pool in the evening. Every building, car, restaurant is aggressively air conditioned. And then something great happens. October arrives and you get out of the 7 months of genuinely beautiful weather with the rest of the country scraping their windshields. Christmas here is frequently a light jacket. Sometimes it's hot. The trade is better than people expect. Energy bills, related and worth budgeting for. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that Houston area consumers price index rose about 2.8% for 12 months ending in April 2026. But the energy specifically rose 17.6%. That's a real line item in the Texas summer. Ask for 12 months of utility history on any house you're serious about, and pay attention to the insulation and the windows quality. It's not a deal breaker, it's just a number to know in advance. Next, the commute. Houston is spread out, really spread out. The distance feels large at first, but the freeway system is built for it. And you're usually moving at a speed rather than sitting still. Still, take this serious when you're choosing the neighborhood. Drive the route at the actual time you'll be driving it in the morning, not a Sunday afternoon. Do it on a Tuesday around 7:30 in the morning. You'll really get to see what that commute is like. The food and the people. This is the part that quietly wins over people. Houston is one of the most ethnically diverse metros around in the country, and you taste it everywhere. Vietnamese, Nigerian, Pakistani, Gulf Coast seafood, barbecue that will genuinely change your standards. Whatever you were eating in California, you can find it here, usually made by someone whose family has been making it for generations. The pace. People say hello, neighbors introduce themselves, your kid's soccer coach knows your name by week 3. It's a slower social rhythm and it takes a minute to adjust, but almost everyone I've helped move here tells me the same thing around 6 months. They didn't realize how tightly wound the neighborhoods are. Okay, cost, market conditions, neighborhoods, daily life. Let's tie it all the way back to where we started, because there's one variable we haven't touched on, and it's the one that actually determines your answer. Which bucket are you in? Remember what I said, most people run the wrong math. Here's the number they leave out entirely: your income. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Houston wages and salaries, they rose 3.4% for 12 months ending in May of 2026, matching the national pace. Houston pays well, particularly in energy, healthcare, aerospace, logistics, and trades. But it does not pay Bay Area tech salaries. So the whole equation comes down to what happens to your income when you cross that state line, which puts almost everyone into one of 3 buckets. Bucket number 1, you keep your California income. Remote workers, people transferring with the national employees, retirees on fixed income, people selling a California house with substantial equity. For you, this is not a close call. You're taking a coastal income into a market where the Houston Association of Realtors reports a $345,000 median, and you're dropping your state income tax to 0, even after higher property tax and insurance. You come out significantly ahead. Census figures back this up at scale. California to Texas is the single largest state-to-state migration flow in the country, and Harris County has been one of the top 2 destinations for Californians leaving the state. Bucket number 2, you're changing jobs and you're taking a pay cut. This is where you have to be careful and where I've seen the disappointment happen. If your income drops 30% and you buy at the top of your approval in a high mud community with an old roof, the math can get uncomfortable fast. It still usually works, but only if you shop deliberately. Know the tax rate before you fall in love. Get the insurance quote before you write the offer. Buy under your pre-approval, not at your pre-approval, or buy under your cash in hand. There's bucket number 3. You're on the fence about California, entirely about Houston. Maybe your job is portable, maybe it isn't. Maybe your family is a real driver. For you, the honest advice is to rent here for 6 to 12 months before you buy. I say that as someone who sells houses, someone who's also an investor. Rent in a couple of different pockets. Figure out whether you're a Heights person or a Katy person. Live through August, then buy with confidence. HIR's June data showed rental volume up 7% with median rent around 1% to $2,150. So renters have some room right now. So is moving from California to Houston worth it? For most people I work with, yes, and often dramatically so, but not because Houston is cheap. Houston is worth it because the gap between what you pay and what you get to live is wider here than almost anywhere else in the country right now. You get the yard, you get the school district, you get extra bedrooms and a home office. You get to stop doing that thing where you refresh listings at midnight and feel your chest tighten. That's the actual product. The price is just how we get there. Let me pull it all together. California's statewide median sits around $904,640 based on the June 2026 report from the California Association of Realtors. Houston's median single family price is $345,000 per the Houston Association of Realtors for the same month, essentially flat year over year. Texas homeowners insurance runs well above the national average, and flood coverage is priced by your specific address, not your neighborhood. The market right now, it's balanced. Inventory is 5.2 months, 52 days on market. Freddie Mac showing the 30-year fixed at 6.69% as of August 6th. That combination gives buyers room to negotiate, especially on new construction. And the neighborhoods are genuinely different from one another. The Heights, Memorial, Katy, Cypress, Sugarland, Pearland, Clear Lake, 7 distinct lives, all within one metro with smaller price gaps between them than you expect. Then figure out your bracket, keeping your income, taking a cut, or still deciding. That's your real answer. So if you're seriously looking at this move, let's talk. I'm Natasha Carol. I'm based right here in the Houston area, and relocation is the bulk of what my team does. We do a lot of virtual tours for our clients who can't fly in town. We pull the actual tax rate, the actual insurance, and the actual flood history on the house before you get emotionally attached to it. And there's no pressure, no cost to have a first conversation, even if your move is a year out. Honestly, a year out is my favorite time to start. My contact information is in the description box below. And if you're not ready to talk to anyone yet, that's completely fine. Grab our free Houston relocation guide in the link below. It's got the school district maps, the neighborhood comparisons, the moving timeline, and the cost of living worksheet. You can fill in, work out your own real numbers. It'll answer a lot of questions of what's still open in your head right now. If you want to keep going, I've got a video breakdown of the Houston suburbs side by side, schools, commute, times, price, breakpoints, and the honest pros and cons of each. It should be popping up on your screen right now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.